Hey everyone, Mtashed here, and welcome to Destiny 2. Now I'm sure that there are thousands of you that are freshly downloading Destiny 2 because it was the free PlayStation game of the month. Now that is pretty awesome, because not only are you jumping into a brand new world with a ton of stuff to do, there's going to be a ton of new players to play with you. This is a great opportunity for anyone joining the game because you are not alone in the grind. So I wanted to make this quick guide to showcase some of the best ways to farm, best ways to power up your character, and take on the raids, PvP, and other fun things to do in Destiny 2. So let's get started. Choosing your class in Destiny 2 can be a little bit scary, because in a lot of other games, that class that you pick is really locking you into the role you have to play. If you choose to be the tank, you have to be the tank. If you are an assassin, you're an assassin. But the nice thing about Destiny 2 is each class that you pick has multiple subclasses. So, whether you're on a Titan, a Hunter, or a Warlock, you're going to have defensive options, offensive options, you can be a PvP god, or you can be a great team player in the raids. Regardless of what class you end up picking, you're going to be able to complete all of the content that Destiny has to offer. I think that's one of the unique things about this game is whether you're a Titan, a Hunter, or a Warlock, you're going to be able to raid. You're going to be able to play PvP. And while everything has its pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, everything is achievable with every class in the game. Because of that, I would highly recommend you try all three classes eventually. They're so different that I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice by not at least giving them a go, trying out the subclasses and seeing if you like them. But if you're jumping in right now and you're thinking, well, what's the best class to start out with? I personally would go with the Titan or the Warlock. They both have great offensive abilities as well as defensive abilities built right into their kit. The Titan can throw up a shield to defend himself, the Warlock can throw down a healing rift to heal himself and his teammates, or even power them up and do bonus damage. The Hunter is a great option as well, but for me, Titan and Warlock, they just have a little extra in their kit, a little bit better long term, and if you're a new player, I think you're going to have a little bit easier time on the Titan and the Warlock. On top of having different subclasses, there's also multiple different types of weapons in the game. There are kinetic weapons, there are special energy weapons, as well as power weapons such as rocket launchers, grenade launchers, or even super powerful shotguns. Now these all have slightly different roles, with kinetic being the best for damaging regular, unshielded enemies, energy weapons for taking out the powerful shields of some of your other enemies, and things like rocket launchers for just wrecking havoc on everything. One of the other tips I wanted to give you was matching the element of the enemy you're fighting. This enemy has a arc shield, and when you take out the arc shield with an arc weapon, it's actually going to chain damage to enemies around it. This is great for taking out some of those trash mobs that might be surrounding something that is much stronger than them, and it's a great idea to carry a couple of different elements in your inventory. Even if you're not using a void or solar weapon at the time, it's a good idea to have them in your back pocket if you want to switch to them later on. Now, any energy weapon is going to be better at taking out these shields, but only a matching element is going to do that massive explosion that kills all the other enemies. Kinetic weapons for unshielded enemies, energy weapons for shielded enemies. As you start your quest, there's going to be a lot of different things to do, from raids, to strikes, to PvP, but I highly recommend focusing on the main story missions. The reason why is you're going to need them done to unlock a lot of the content, and also they give you some pretty damn good rewards, from legendary weapons to exotic armors and weapons as well. It's going to get you ready for some of those endgame activities, and even PvP can be pretty tough if you don't have any sort of good weapons or armor available. I mean, at the start, you're not even going to have all of your subclasses unlocked, so you are going to have to put a little bit of time in to get your character ready for a lot of these activities. But as you complete the campaign, there's some other things you can do to boost up your experience, as well as get some loot. As you level up your character, simply farming enemies and killing them is one of the worst ways to get gear and experience in the game. You always want to be doing some sort of activity, whether it is a main quest line, PvP, strikes, or public events. These are quick little missions that'll pop up at random around the planets, and I highly recommend you focus on these if you see them. They're really good for the amount of time they take. They can give you blue, purple, and even exotic armor and engrams, as well as a nice chunk of experience. I also recommend that you look up guides on how to make these public events heroic events, because you get more experience and more loot for a fractionally harder experience. If you get bored of those public events, you can also jump into the Strikes playlist for a chance at some awesome rewards as well. There's multiple different playlists, from the Vanguard to the Nightfall to the Heroic playlists, that are going to vary depending on your overall power level. And if you don't want to do that, you could even jump into some PvP games. The nice thing about this is that no matter what you're doing, you're going to get rewarded. You can get blue gear, purple gear, even exotic engrams from pretty much every activity that you do. So, as long as you're playing the game, you're going to be making some awesome progress towards getting higher power level and getting to the end game. Now, I know you're excited and you want to do all these different activities, but before you do, make sure you grab all of the bounties from Zavala as well as Shaxx. Whether you're doing PvP or the Strikes, these are easy bounties to complete, and the rewards you get from them stack up over time. It allows you to get tokens quicker and more efficiently that allow you to unlock different armors and weapons, as well as ranking up with the vendor to unlock some of these different faction rewards down the road. Some of them are going to take quite a bit of time, but they can be extremely strong, so definitely don't sleep on it. Now, as you start playing the game, you're going to notice that this power level increases as you find better weapons and armor. It dictates how much damage you deal, reduces how much damage is incoming, as well as dictates the power level of future drops. But you don't have to switch out gear right away if you don't want to. For example, one of the best weapons in the game is the Graviton Lance. And even though it is 368 attack, and the other pulse rifle I have is 373, the Graviton Lance is most likely a better weapon in a lot of situations. Even though the power level is lower, it's still a great weapon and you don't have to stress out too much. If it was 15 or 20 attack lower, you might run into some issues, but for the most part, a point here and there isn't going to be a big deal. Now, the nice thing as well is, as long as those higher power level items are in your inventory, future drops will be higher power level as well. You don't have to equip them to get higher level drops. However, if there's an item that you love, it's got a great mod on it, you like the feel, you can infuse higher power level items into it to boost the power of that item. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this a ton, especially early on, because it's pretty expensive to do with these legendary shards, and you're going to need them later on to see this guy. Xur is a vendor that shows up on the weekends and can be in a variety of different areas and locations. You're not going to see him on the map, but if you can find him, he's going to have exotic armor and weapons. Now, these are actually pretty cheap once you start getting into the late game, so I highly recommend buying them, especially if you don't have that exotic. Even if you don't have a Warlock or a Titan made, buy the exotics for those characters so you don't have to do it later on. He also sells a Faded Engram that will give you a chance at a new exotic that you currently don't have, but this is all of the exotics from year 1 and none of the stuff that's coming in Forsaken. It's also pretty expensive, so I would really focus on buying these ones first, because they might be a huge boost to your power level. On top of the power level boost, a lot of these exotics have perks that are honestly game-changing and can completely shift how you play your character. There's a lot of them available, and it's going to take some time to get all these, but through Xur and doing multiple different activities, you're going to start chunking away at this collection, and you're going to get some great ones that are going to make you feel much more powerful. However, if you're feeling antsy and you want a guaranteed way to get a couple of them, try to look for these blue quest markers. At the end of these quest lines, there is typically an exotic or two waiting for you, so definitely keep your eyes peeled on all the planets, and try to grind through these quests as soon as you can. Now, after you've spent some time grinding up that power level, if you're looking for a challenge, the raid is where you should be going, because this is extremely difficult content, but extremely rewarding content as well. Some of the weapons that drop are some of the best in the game, and the experience is honestly something you shouldn't miss. Raiding in Destiny is one of the pinnacle activities that people talk about. People still talk about the raids from Destiny 1 and how badly we miss them. And Destiny 2 has some of the coolest mechanics we've seen yet in the raids in an FPS game. Now, because this content is so difficult and you need 6 players to play, I highly recommend joining or creating a clan. You have to remember, There are thousands of new players joining right now because it was the PlayStation free game. So there's other people like you that might want to be in a clan to reap the benefits. You get special engrams that'll give you loot every week. It'll give you some bonuses that'll allow you to get slightly better rewards or increase your experience gains. And being in a clan is great for just making friends and having a bit of a community. It also gives you options and access to doing things like the raid that without a clan, you might not be able to do, because it's kind of hard to get 6 people together if you don't have a way to communicate and see each other online. Now, a clan isn't necessary, but honestly, go for it. The Destiny community is very welcoming, and I guarantee if you put in just a smidgen of effort, you can find some awesome people to game with every day for the next few months. Now, for my final tip, despite Destiny having some amazing raids, some cool armor and weapons to get, there is a whole other side of the game in the Crucible. Now, if you thought that shooting dregs and vandals and Hive was fun, imagine shooting other Guardians with all of that loot that you found in the other part of the game. What about smashing another Titan with your Fist of Havoc? What about throwing a flaming Dawnblade sword at a hunter's skull? It's a great time, it is a great opportunity to let off some steam, and Destiny PvP is one of the best PvP experiences there has ever been. The movement, the gunplay, all of it is fantastic, and I definitely recommend you give it a try. Don't sleep on the PvP, trust me. That's pretty much it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, I hope I helped out just a little bit, and welcome to Destiny 2. Now, if you guys are looking for more guides and more funny videos from the Tash man himself, Mtashed, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and thank you one more time for watching. Have fun with Destiny, and I'll see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.